Hello everyone, and welcome to Promotional Pmonday, the show where I stalk smaller YouTube channels and you normalise my behaviour by subscribing. This week we have, well, I'm going to be a little bit more serious than usual, since this particular entrant wrote me a really nice email and explained some of their aspirations in regards to YouTube. I won't share the finer details, but this guy, Alan Robert, currently does a gameplay thing, which is fine, but ultimately wants to share some basic science explanations with us, which is better, and I wholeheartedly endorse that pursuit. However, this first video is a mental health awareness story and shows great potential for his future work. I'll let him go and you can let him know. Take it away, Alan Robert.
Hello everyone, it's Alan here again, obviously, and I'm back in front of the camera, which I said I wasn't going to do last time I did it. Anyway, I'm making this video for a couple of different reasons. One is because of the brilliant video Jeff Hawley put out about this time last week, at the time of me recording, about his experience with mental health and depression problems. Secondly is because it's Mental Health Awareness Month for the month of May, and also because I've been feeling a little bit anxious and down lately, sometimes. I'm feeling alright now, but lately I've had a few little hiccups. So, what am I talking about? Well, I'm Alan, obviously. I'm 27 years old, and I've suffered with depression for basically as long as I can remember at this point. I can only really concretely say that it started when I was around about 17-ish. That's when it sort of flared up and I started paying attention to all the sad kind of thing in my life. So before then I can't really comment. I know there were times when I felt a little down. And going to school, I went to school a long way away from where I lived. Nobody else I really knew lived that close to me. I spent a lot of time as a teenager isolated. That was fine by me. I had an overactive imagination. I played a hell of a lot of the Championship Manager and Football Manager games as well. So I kind of kept myself busy with them. I'd stick the TV on or stick a film or something like that and just play video games for like a whole fucking day and waste my life doing that. Which is probably why I'm a bit podgy. But yeah, moving on, and towards 17, I noticed that whenever I went to bed, tried to sleep at night, I just couldn't, for quite a long time. I'd stick some music on, normally that would help me sleep. Didn't. Trying all kinds of different music, didn't really help me sleep. I just lie awake thinking sometimes, plagued by thoughts. I couldn't deal with the shit. And I kind of got a little bit nostalgic and melodramatic about leaving school kind of situation when I was 18, moving on to university into the great big unknown. And for a while I didn't really think I wanted to do it, and as soon as I actually started it was much better than I thought it was going to be, at least in the short term. When I was 18 I had a few different issues, so turned 18, had some good friends, like first time I'd done anything major for my birthday for a while. A couple of friends came quite a long way to go for a drink, go for a bit of food. We just hung out, walked down to the seafront, got Chinese takeaway, stuff like that, had a couple of pints. It was nice, it was really nice. We had the school leavers thing the next week. A mate of mine got me a CD for my birthday. I think it was when I met Callum. Got me a CD, it was the Atari's So Long Storia. And I really liked that album, actually. Lots of different bits on it. But then one track kind of put me a little bit over the edge kind of thing, where it had the line, being grown up isn't half as fun as growing up. And I think that's a fucking awful message, to be honest. It's there to sell songs, it's kind of playing on that thing of American high school dramas kind of thing, that when you're a kid everything's difficult but everything's so much more magical. Now, I mentioned Jeff Hawley's video, and he mentions at the end of it that as you grow older, things get better, and I'm tending to agree with him to an extent on that. And before I carry on my story, I will point out that now I probably have far more problems, rather, I should say, than I did when I was 19, for example. But they don't affect me quite as much. They still affect me. I wouldn't be me if I didn't let things weigh me down. But yeah, I feel better equipped to deal with them. I still feel down, I still get depressed, but I've learned things from past errors. I feel that as you get older, you start building up a baseline. So when you're a little kid, everything is taken care of for you. And then as you start getting older, you realise you have to start getting more independent. Whether that's because of the chemicals in your head telling you have to, or because you're moving out into the big wide world yourself, which can be a difficult time. And you're basically starting again in some ways. You're not actually starting again, but, you've gone down closer to bedrock. You still got your parents there somewhere, you still get your family and friends, but you're having to start making you, rather than just being your father's son, your mother's daughter, whatever. You are you. You're starting to become your own person. I understand that can be very difficult. I found it quite hard. So as you get older, you build little bits. You start climbing up. You get better foundations. And as you get older, you've built more foundations. You're more adjusted things. You have more experience in how to deal with the shit in your life. And also the chemicals in your head, the hormones and that from puberty and that all start to settle down. So I agree with Jeff on that. I'm not sure I agree with him on the music bit. You know, and I'm a little bit out of the loop on music compared to what I used to be. Spent all summer 2012 like hanging out with my dad, building a conservatory, redoing a holiday home, and listening to Kerrang radio, listening to a lot of good music then, which I like a lot more than the music I'd grown up listening to beforehand. For the past 5 years, I've not really listened to that much, I have to admit. I listened to a lot of shit off Radio 1 whenever Lizzie's driven me anywhere, but never mind. Some of that I quite like, some of it I absolutely fucking despise, and some of it guilty pleasures, but I'm not going to go into that, that's a different story. But yeah, so going back to the story that when I was 17, things were a bit difficult. When I was 18, I had that little setback. And during the summer that year, me, mum, dad, we went on a holiday for a few days to Wales. When we got back, my dad played in the folk band, and he came home one night, much earlier than we expected. I'd just been watching like Family Guy on BBC Three. And he comes home really early. I'm thinking, well, what the fuck's going on here? He goes out every week, and I'm doing it about 11. This is like 9:30. Is he alright? He's not looking well. So Dad was always hesitant on sort of ringing an ambulance kind of thing for a couple of reasons. Not going to go into that, those are his reasons. But we rang the ambulance in the end, he doesn't complain, he goes off, and I sit there all night. So Mum and Dad are over at the hospital. And I just sit there, and I ring my brothers up, talk to them. I think Mum was at work, I think Nick was at work, spoke to Graham for a bit. Just wind up sitting up watching all the shit on TV until my parents get home at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And the ambulance takes them, but they don't find them on their way back home, so they have to pay fucked on a taxi. Because it was like 25 miles or something like that to get back from the hospital. And he's had like a minor heart attack, so I spent a lot of the summer just hanging out with Dad. And it was nice hanging out with him, sad about the circumstances though, very, very sad about the circumstances. Yeah, towards the end of that summer, I think that kind of contributed to my hesitancy in going away to uni. But I made some nice friends at university. My first day there, I found I had a fucking enormous room. It was like 1.5 times the size of a squash court or something like that, compared to everybody else's little shoebox in the halls. So I had a projector. I don't remember why I had a projector. A decent laptop at the time, so we stuck on a DVD on the projector, we all watched a film, like most of the block together, had a few drinks, started going out to the events. My brother bought me tickets for Precious Week, that was Nick that time around. I didn't have any valid ID to get into some of the clubs and pubs, but you know, my passport was well expired at that point. I didn't really carry any photo ID. This was before the hair started going back, before this really became a permanent fixture on my face. You know, and this is a couple of days' growth around all this bit. You know, the goatee's a fixture, but the rest of it is literally like 2 days' growth. But yeah, so made a lot of friends. But then as I got into my subject and we sort of like drifted in different ways and different paths, I did chemistry, a lot of on my thought did like arts subjects, like English degree related things, history of arts. There was a girl who did biochemistry who was a little bit scared of because she was very, very intense. Mo and Chris did business, financial management and accounts, and one of the Jamies did physics, the other one did geography, and Matt did electronic engineering. And you know, I sort of became a little bit isolated at times. Set myself targets in life which were impossible, either in actually an impossible target or just the way I wanted to accomplish them. And that got to me a little bit. And I kind of went off the rails for a little while, sort of just after the Christmas kind of break. Yeah, I think going home for Christmas kind of derailed me, came at the wrong time. It was only 10-week terms, so like that, yuck. So, but for the rest of that year, things were okay. So moved into a student house for the next year, got back up to York a little bit early because I was doing this thing sticking second, third year contacts. So I was living with a few of the guys I mentioned. One of them had failed his first year, failed his research, so he was trying to get back in on a different course in second year, but instead spent the year basically as a gap year living in York. And I kind of had a fallout with him quite a bit. I'm not going to lay any blame on what happened afterwards on him, but I felt kind of a bit off with the house at times. I still got on quite well with Chris, and I still get on well with Jamie's. Matt and I didn't really get on. But that's a complete aside, I think, that I let other factors get in the way. So when I was going through school, anxiety was about things like change and just puberty and growing up. Never had any problems with academics. I mean, one reason was because I was a cocky little wanker. The other reason was I am actually quite smart academically. You know, I breezed through my GCSEs and most of my A-levels. The only ones I actually really find that easy during A-levels were general studies, because I didn't feel that I taught that properly. I didn't give a fuck for most of the time, and I actually failed two of my A-level general studies exams. Well, I actually kind of tried. I got called in for a meeting with the head of sixth form, and I told him I'm not going to try on the resits. I know I have to do them, but at that point, you know, there's no point afterwards. There's no chance to resit them again. I'm not going to give a fuck. And I didn't give a fuck, and I got much better marks. In fact, I think I got 101 of them not actually answering the questions properly. So, fucking A. But yeah, during university, I started actually finding things a bit of a challenge, and I didn't know how to work on this. I mean, GCSEs and A-levels, I was getting great marks without really knowing how to revise, without knowing how to study. And I had a bit of a setback with results not going quite as high as I expected. For me, anything lower than like 80 was disappointing, because I was that much of an arrogant little wanker and I was getting a lot of things like. So first year everything was like 80s and 90s, second year things went down into like the 70s and 80s. And some results were great, some results I wasn't happy with. And couple that with the fact that I had a tendency towards being a bit depressed and a bit lonely. And I didn't really know what to do. And I kind of kept on thinking that I didn't really have anywhere to turn, which is the biggest mistake I've ever fucking made in my life. Ever made in my life. I had 3 housemates I could get along with well, and another one who I could, you know, who would have been good enough to talk to. I had good friends on my course, and yeah, I had some very good friends on my course. I had my family I could attend to as well. And there were all kinds of services on campus. There were the campus doctors, the open door counselling team. I didn't use this, and I let things get out of hand. I let myself obsess about things that I needn't bother with. You know, I kind of thought, if I want this in my life, I need this to be happy, but I don't know how to get this, for example. And it all came to a head that one night I was just sitting around in my room, late night. Chris had gone away somewhere, I think. So it was just the 4 of us in the house. And usually if I wanted to chat to somebody, Chris would be the one I'd go and chat to more. He was a bit older. I think I generally had sort of more in-depth adult conversations with him, kind of thing. No offence to the others. Absolutely no offence. No, we're friends in different ways, kind of things. So I'd had a nasty jaw problem. I kind of got beaten up a little bit previous year, like about nearly a year beforehand, and I still had a lot of painkillers and stuff like that when I got my jaw cracked and tooth kicked out in the face. I still had a lot of prescription painkillers from that, you know, heavy duty shit, and I had a lot of other painkillers. I had a lot of problems with pain from there. I'd had problems with my shoulder, you know, a couple of other little problems. So I had a lot of painkillers. I had basically a drawer just full to the brim of paracetamol, codeine, cocodamol, stuff like that. And I had a bottle of whiskey. And I don't know what the driving force was now. This was 7 years ago. But I decided to do that. And I put myself to sleep and woke up a few hours later and I was going, what the fuck have I done? Absolutely, what the fuck have I done? And so I tried to sort myself out and didn't know what to do. I kind of panicked. You know, not normal for me, panicking at the time of a problem. And I'll get onto that a bit more later. But anyway, I wound up going to the hospital the next morning, you know, like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I get put on IV. I mean, for a while before this incident, I kind of stopped looking after myself a little bit. I kind of got myself into a bit of a state over my financial situation. I spent a lot more money than I thought I had. I'd lost a hell of a lot of weight in a very short period. I think I probably had like a virus as well in there. I don't really remember that much. But I wasn't eating properly. And so I'd gone from about a little bit overweight, it's like 11 stone, down to about 6.5 stone over the course of a term. You could see my ribs. My BMI was basically single digits. It's fucking terrifying. You know, I'd always been heavy until this point, and all my muscle I worked hard for had kind of gone a little bit as well. But yeah, so I get put on IVs, stuff like that. Get assessed by mental health practitioner at the hospital. They weren't particularly helpful, but then again, I don't think I let them be particularly helpful. I kind of skirted around the answers and stuff like that. So while I was in hospital, I saw my brother, talked to him a bit, but he couldn't spend that much time. He himself had been seriously ill the previous year, and if he didn't want to stick around in hospital, it wasn't that. He had to go home to his girlfriend and get back to work. He fucking commuted hundreds of miles sometimes on the job. But it was good seeing him and good talking to him, and he started me on the road to recovery again. Anyway, I found it very, very hard to talk to my dad in that situation, not because of my dad, but because of what I'd done. I still feel so ashamed of what I did, and I don't think I'm ever going to get fully over that. So I do regret it, and it causes more problems than you can ever solve. So don't go down that route if you're ever thinking of it. And if you know somebody who is thinking of it, please do your best to stop them. But yeah, so it was about this point. I was in hospital for a few days, like a week or something like that. And my friend Katie rang me up to see how I was doing quite regularly while I was in there. She'd gone home, no way back for a while. She got away, I think, but I chatted to her a lot. And I realised I do have friends. My friend Pete showed up, my friend Chris showed up. They brought me things. This is a different Chris. The other Chris is away. Yeah, so Pete showed up, brought me a change of clothes, brought me a book. Chris came along, brought me sweets, brought me magazines like Simpsons magazine, stuff like that. I think I've still got that magazine. It meant a lot to me. Flash forward a little bit, I was on holiday with my mum, dad, and one of my brothers, with Nick. I just went to the pub every night with Nick and played pool. And I'm pretty decent at pool. That became a nice way out. Pool sometimes. Until like 2 years later. But yeah, when I got back to uni, my dad gave me a sealed card in an envelope. And he said to open it if I ever needed it. And I can't remember when I opened it, when I was feeling down again, but I opened it. And I'm never getting rid of that one. So he put a bit of money in there for me and just written me the inside of the land card, and I'm touched by that. But yeah, so third year, moved to a different house. Matt went back into halls because he started again. And I didn't have quite so many problems that year. I think I tried getting a bit more socially active. All this time as well, I've been doing university radio, and the night before I did like a 3-hour broadcast from 9 o'clock until midnight. And it might have been tiredness exacerbating pre-existing problems. I don't know. I'm not really wanting to think about it too much. But yeah, I kind of got a bit more active in third year in many ways. Did like committee for the radio. Unfortunately, I had some problems with illness and with my right arm. I'm right-handed. Writing, 14 hours of exam papers in like 3 days kind of took its toll on me, and you could see the marks going down and down and down and down and down. And I had a massive fucking freak out when I got my worst exam results. It started off high and then just plummeted. I was still on though for a 2-1 at the time. I just needed a good fourth year. In fourth year I had a few problems, so I moved in with 2 new housemates. The others all graduated. And I got on well with them, but at times I sort of go off the rails a little bit and drink a little bit too much, for example, or stop paying attention. A bit of self-doubt, and my master's project didn't work particularly well, which was scary. This is the first time something hadn't really gone right for me. And I feel this was important for me to grow as a person. I wouldn't have managed to get through my PhD without kind of this shitty experience here. Somehow, by some absolute fucking miracle, I got onto a PhD in the end. With a 2-1, I nearly got a first. Very close. I'm not bitter. If I got like 2 more marks in an exam or something like that, fucking first, but fuck that. So I got onto the PhD, and PhD supersedes undergraduate degree, so it's all good, it's all fucking good. But I had some difficulties during my PhD as well. I found it difficult to get going. It was a different world. It's not quite so structured. You have to get the structure to yourself. And I kind of try and keep up the social life, but couldn't balance it very well. But yeah, I kind of began to rectify this in the second year of my PhD. At the time though, I didn't know if I wanted to carry on with it or not. So I spoke to my dad, spoke to people I worked with in the lab, particularly the postdocs, spoke to my supervisors, and eventually spoke to my girlfriend when towards the end of the first year of my PhD. And we kind of fixed things up, and eventually it took a while to get back into the swing of things. There were some really, really hard times there. But I got back into it, and I actually find it to be one of the best things I've ever done. It was challenging, and because I met those challenges and got past them, I feel like a much, much stronger person because of it. And it's not because it was easy, it was difficult. But I grew up. I grew the fuck up. I reached out for help. Because that was the problem I had before. I felt like looking for help was a weakness. At this point I started going to counselling. I went to visit the doctor to talk about things as well. I reached out to my mum, my dad, my brothers, my girlfriend, my supervisors, my friends. If I had a problem, I never stopped asking for help at this point. There are a lot of friends who I owe a lot to. I owe a lot to my family, I owe a lot to Lizzie, I owe a lot to my supervisors, my friends in the lab, my friends outside of it. At very different intervals as well. I could kind of put things on the back burner and just go and play pool for a night, or go and play darts, and I'd take my mind off things. And it felt good when they were going right, and eventually they started falling apart again because I kind of relied on them a little bit too much at times when I should have been relying on people to help me out. But never mind. I got through my PhD, had my Viva December just gone. It was long, a lot longer than I expected. I got through it. I submitted my corrections a couple of months ago. Right around about the same time when I moved to this new flat, which is different from the one where I did that unboxing video crap I did at Christmas. But yeah, looking back on things, I'm not able to change anything, and I don't know if I would. But I would advise that you don't take the route I did. You look for the help when you can. Probably be a lot better off if I looked at that. I probably have a lot better medical things. So, the thing that I've not really touched on, though, at all is medication. And I've had various different antidepressant medications during this time, starting after the whole thing. During my summers, during first year and second year, I did part-time work in local co-op where I grew up. First year it was hard, but I did it. Second year, when I was on the medication, as well as when I was feeling more depressed during that summer anyway, the medication kind of knocked me for a loop. I can't remember which one it was. People have different reactions to different ones. Didn't help at all. It made me sleep sometimes for 14, 15 hours at a time. Even if I'd got plenty of sleep and I took one, I just wouldn't wake up until I'd missed work, kind of thing. So I stopped doing it. Eventually I couldn't abide by losing that much of my time. It actually made me feel worse in a way because I was sleeping all the time. So I stayed up all night, kind of thing. My sleep pattern got absolutely fucked over by it. I'd stay up all night watching South Park, playing. I think I completed Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion like 3 times that summer. Like 100% completion of different classes and stuff like that. I'd go for walks down to the cliffs in the nature reserve near where I grew up, listen to music. Like in Jeff Holliday's video, I took me out, I listened to very aggressive, angry music, which probably doesn't actually help in many ways. But yeah, I kind of found it a little bit difficult at times, and I had different medications, and some of them just didn't do anything. Now, I'm not bashing medication. As I said, it works differently for different people. It didn't really work for me. You need to find out there. Visit your doctors, visit counsellors, ring up a helpline. You can get pointed in different ways. Take the advice of professionals. Try the different medications, at least for a short term. If they don't work, go back and tell them they don't work. Get more exercise. I've been doing a bit more exercise lately. It's helping. And I would also like to offer a massive thank you to the YouTuber Lady Crimson. She talks a bit on Twitter about sort of mental aspects, and we've had a few fairly frank discussions, but going both ways. I won't cover her side of things because that's not my business. But I'd also like to thank her in particular because of the Discord server. I mean, I moved to a new area. I don't really know anybody around here. I know my girlfriend and her parents and her extended family a few miles away, and friends and family. I do volunteering on a Tuesday now, so hopefully meeting a few more people through that. And I had that yesterday, and it was rewarding. I met some new people, got to chat to some new people, and that's nice. But I've also been chatting to these people on her Discord server. I feel comfortable there. It's kind of, there's a fair amount of people, but it's not too many people. It doesn't feel sort of like intimate anymore, kind of thing. It's good. I like chatting to these people. And I'd also like to thank Jeff Holiday for that brilliant video he made. And Jeff, I think you're a good man. you're very brave in some of the videos you make, and you explain things very well. And I cannot begin to compare my story to yours. Yours was very different, I'll say. I can't imagine going through some of the things you went through in the stories. And I've lost friends, but not through that. And I know it hurts losing them from illnesses and accidents. But I can't imagine how much it hurts losing them in the way that I nearly took myself away from my friends and family. So, yeah. So my message is, Jeff's video will be linked in the description. I'll try to find as many different helpline numbers as I can, but the takeaway is go and talk to somebody if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling down, if you're having difficulties, if you're feeling anxious. I mean, Lizzie's had anxiety through her work, basically all steps since I've met her. She was a teacher for 2 years, and she let anxiety make her a worse teacher. That if she made one error, that kind of compiled and ran on, and she tried different medications. She has a few anxious moments still, and sometimes it is hard to talk her out of it. And she's taking medication, and I've taken the same medication. It didn't really work for either of us, but I've always tried to be there for her, and I've probably made mistakes along the way, as in gone there and been too over the top with her sometimes. But what's the opposite, and she'd have just walked away from everything and dug deeper, kind of thing. Which is what I did. I walked away from challenges, I walked away from friends, and I made things worse. Don't let that happen to people. If you're on the outside looking at somebody doing that, make sure they're getting help. Don't smother them, that's a fine line, but I'd rather you kind of were a little bit overbearing and you pissed them off than left them to their own devices and let them fuck themselves over like I did to me. I did to myself. But yeah, Jeff, thank you for making that video. It's been the reason why I've made this one. I thought I'd add my little story to it. So Jeff's video will be linked. As well as some of the helplines, the ones I can find. I mean, I'm in the UK, I can only really talk about the UK myself. There'll be different ones over different countries depending on where you're watching this from. But yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully you can take something away from this if you didn't have any no experiences beforehand. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for watching, and don't let these things happen to people as much as possible. Don't let it happen. Thanks.
I hope you liked that. If you did, give him a subscribe. And hopefully he will start doing some cool crap in the future. If you didn't, let him know why and help him get better. If you would like your content to be featured on my channel, please send me your best work via the hashtag Promotional Pmonday, or feel free to message me on my Gmail or YouTube messages. If you know any cool or inexplicably tiny YouTubers you think could use some love, point them to my channel and get them to check out this series. I don't just promote shitlord videos, so seriously, whatever it is, if it's good and they are small, get it sent. If I like the video, I'll do my best to get you an episode. Whatever you do link me, I will assume you are giving me permission to use it on my channel for this show unless you state otherwise. Note, I mainly focus on channels with less than 500 subscribers, and preferably channels with less than 100, as they will see the most benefit. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe to Alan Robert, and I'll see you all in the next video.